Okay, so this is a tutorial on how to use parameters to control geometry for models in Fusion. This is a lamp I've designed that it's a block of wood um, that it looks like a block of wood. These parts right here are veneer, really thin wood veneer, and when you turn it on, this light bulb shape shines through. You'll see in the instructable that after cutting this stuff out, I mistakenly took the wrong thickness of material. I got like quarter-inch material instead of 3/8 on accident. So when it was done cutting, I put the parts together, and of course there was a little bit of an overlap, and these little joints I made didn't fit together so well. So right now I'm going to demonstrate how to use parameters, which are here, to control that stuff so that I could actually change those parameters in order to keep the size of the model the same, but use different thicknesses of material and quickly have the parts ready to cut out. So to start this, I'm just going to use the geometry of this face that I've already created. So I'm just going to create a sketch there. I'm going to select everything and right-click break link because I don't want to use those. I don't want anything to be connected there. I'm going to turn off this little switch too because that doesn't need to be there. So what I'm trying to do here is make it so that this thickness here, which is some 23/64, so that's the actual thickness of 3/8 inch plywood that we have. I want to make that a parameter so that I can go in here and say, okay, the thickness is now 1/4 of an inch or whatever it is. And then I want all of these things to respond to that. So the way to do it is to, first of all, I'm going to go to parameters. You can see here I've already got a parameter for thickness. 23/64 is the thickness of everything. You would just click this plus sign to make a new one. You can make it whatever you want. But I'm going to use this. I'm going to shorten that a little bit. I'm just going to call it thick because I'm going to be typing it a bunch of times. And then I can go in here and change the parameters of this so that if that parameter changes, that thickness changes, then the appropriate parts of the geometry will change and I'll still be able to make my part. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off the rest of the model here because I don't need any of these things. It's just going to make things a little bit cleaner. There's a few other parts kind of floating around that might kind of get in the way. Veneer cap. All right, so now I'm just looking at this drawing. The light bulb is something I just kind of freehanded. I just did some arcs and circles and just kind of made a little quick graphic of that. But what I want to do now is change this according to thickness. So first of all, I'm going to do a sketch dimension here. This is going to constrain the geometry. And then I get to give it a value, and I'm going to say thick. So it'll stay where it is because I've already made this for those dimensions, right? I'm going to do the same thing here. Call that thick as well. Now, just to test this, to make sure the thing, so I've clicked from the outside to the inside. And my assumption is that when you do that, this line will stay where it is, and this line will be the one that changes if you change the parameter. So let's test that. I'm going to go to change parameters, go down to thick, make it 0.243, which I think was was it 234? I think it was 243. Change that thickness, and we'll see here. Yeah, see, that didn't work at all. These lines didn't stay where I wanted them to. This one did. This one did not. So what I'm going to do is select the perimeter lines that I know I want to stay consistent. That and this, and I'm going to right-click and say Fix. And I think that's going to lock those in place. So if I were to go back, change parameters, make this 0.243, enter. Looks like that did the trick. Yep. So since those lines on the perimeter are fixed, whatever parameter I change on the inside of that is going to the other line is the one that's going to change if that parameter changes. So the other thing, so all this stuff needs to respond to the actual thickness. So that means over here, this needs to be that same parameter. Same with this. This is like a little keyway. I know that's constrained. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Constraining all these things to fixed lines. Okay, it just told me it was over constrained, so maybe this being fixed was a bad idea. Well, I don't know why that happened, so I'm going to delete these two lines and kind of start over here. So, then down here, this, and then it looks like it gave me an automatic line there, but let's try that again. All right, that looks like it did the trick. So I'm gonna again change that parameter. Yep, that worked. You know, I guess I can leave that parameter where I want it just to demonstrate this. So we'll do dimension here. Oops. Right click, repeat. Thick. That should move along. Now this one here, I want this to be the notch up top to be centered on the overall width of the object, and the thickness to adjust along a center line. So in order to do that, I think I'm going to do a line here. I know that this is the center, right? So let's do, yeah, I'll do that. Maybe I guess it does need to be off of this. Okay, so I'm going to put it there, which should constrain it to the center of this whole object here. I'm going to right click, make it a construction line. Right click, fix, because I want it to stay in the center. So then what I can do, back to this, and I'm going to do off the construction line to there. And this is going to be an expression, so I'm going to make it thick divided by 2. Same thing on this side, thick divided by 2. Which of course means that it's going to be centered, right? Here I will do the same thing, thick. Same thing here, thick. And then we've got a few more to go. I want the bottom of this ledge part to stay where it is, so I'm going to go ahead and fix these lines as well. Sketch this dimension here. Thickness again. Do the same here. Thickness. All right. So now that's the sketch I want to make my part out of. So I'm going to extrude this minus thick. And I want this to be a new component. I've designed this so that these parts are identical, so they can be moved around. So I'm going to call this new face, so that I can just make multiple copies of the same thing. This is particularly useful if you're not using a CNC machine or a laser cutter or something like that. It's a lot easier to fabricate multiples of the same thing. But it's also very useful for simply for fabricating anything, because you don't have to keep track of all these individual parts. You can just make multiples of the same thing. So I'm just kind of moving this around until it's in the right place. I can move from point to point here. You could also use joints in this case, but there's really no need. Just going to paste again, rotate it this way, and do a point to point move here. So you can see how they interlock, and then here, this little recess is for an extra part that's going to hold a trim on the bottom that holds the LED assembly. So the way these are designed to interlock, you'll see that when I change the parameters, if I did everything right, this should change to whatever I want. Or I can change this model from the thicker material to this thinner material here, which is what I want, and pretty quickly print it out. I'm going to build the top part now, which is kind of the same situation. So I'm going to break the link there, delete that, don't need it. I'm going to do a rectangle from here to here, and that should automatically give me 2 points for that rectangle that are dependent upon the thickness of the object around. I'm going to project these tabs here, and I'm going to see if I can't just rely on projecting old there to give me what I want. I believe I had a 3/4 inch hole here for the switch. In any case, I can just turn that switch on and see what the actual dimensions of the shaft of it are. Yeah, I made a little more space for it, so I'm just going to go ahead and project that. I can just use that circle. .75. That's pretty good. Turn that off and then get rid of that first line. It's going to be easier to make my part this way. Then I should be able to just grab these parts of this sketch, extrude by minus thick, make a new component out of that, and this should be dependent, should change along with my parameter here. So if I made it 0.3, hopefully this is just going to give me what I want, but we may run into some trouble with some of those parts, but it looks like it works fine. Just projecting the old parts from the other corners like that. So let's do back to 0.43. So this is going to make my life a lot easier. Now I've got, all I need to do is change that parameter if I want to make this part out of a different material, different thickness, whatever it is. These little ledges in here, I'm going to take a look at one of those and plan and see what I did. I think I just, so let's turn off the, set this component, call this the new cap. That's the new face. These are the other new faces. So look at the ledge here that I made before. Looks like I just made a yeah, 3/32. This is just giving me a place to screw into on the bottom. So I don't need to get too specifically close to what was designed there before. So I'm just going to go to the bottom here. I'm going to start a sketch on this bottom face because that's what I decided I wanted to be fixed. So I'll start there. I'm going to look from underneath. So I think it'll be easier for me to see what I'm doing. I know I want that whole rectangle to be part of this assembly. So I'm going to look here and go ahead and project these. I'll just start there. Project that point, this point. Give myself a rectangle. Actually, first I want to get rid of that old drawing. I'm going to right click, break link, delete, make a new one. I'm just trying to clean up the geometry here because I don't want any surprises down the road. So I'll make a rectangle there. I'm going to give this parameters I want to fix both of these lines because I want those to be consistently on the outside. I'm going to make this dimension from here to here. That's going to be, I'm not saying it's over constrained, it's because of this point here. So I can get rid of that point. Actually, there's no need to, because if the thickness changes, this is going to go along for the ride. So what I'm going to do is keep this simple. Offset this by thick. I'm going to draw a line from this point to this point. I'm going to draw a line from the midpoint of this line to this one. Then I'm going to trim that. Now I'm just kind of experimenting with what I can get away with without having to do all those dimensions. I'll see if I can, you know, there's a certain amount of constraints that you can see over here that are automatically being added to this object. So I'm going to go to the center of that from point to point. You know, there's a diagonal from point to point. Then I take the center of that line, so I know my hole is centered. Make that 330 seconds, which will be consistent. I'm not going to change that. Stop sketch. Then I'm going to extrude this minus thick. Make it a new component. Sorry, it needs to be positive. Go over here and change that to positive. New component. Click OK. And now I'm going to see if this is going to behave the way I want it to without putting in all those parameters, all those constrained dimensions that I had before. 0.3. I hit tab just to get out of that window to see if this is going to work. And it looks like it did. Yeah. So you can see that through a combination of relying on old projected geometries and creating new ones for yourself, you can kind of do everything you need to do. So in the interest of just making this look the way I want it to, I'll call this new ledge. There's really no need to array this like I'm about to, but I might as well for the sake of consistency. So I've got this component selected, and I'm going to go to create pattern circular. So now that I've got a center line, I could have done this with these other ones too, really, but I can select this center axis. Sorry, that's selected. Then I go to the center axis here, and if I give it 4, and it's a full circle, then it should give me just 4 components arrayed around like that. So now I can see what the inside of my little lamp project is going to look like. So now I want to lay this stuff out and make a sketch that is going to respond to these parts as they are. So what I'll do for that is I'm just going to copy those components and lay them down where I want. So I'm going to do a sketch, create a new one. The bed of the laser cutter is 24 by 36, but this is a really small project. I think I can get away with like, let's just make it like 12 by 18, sure. It's just kind of giving me a place to put my my drawing. So I'm going to take these components here, start with new face, copy paste. I don't even really need to do that. I've already pasted, so I've got new ledge 5 here, and I'm going to drag so it's somewhere over here. I can just align this face arbitrarily to this one. So now it's like on this part. I think I'd rather put it on top. It's just going to make things easier for me because I can look at it this way and drag it around without having to accidentally grab the sketch. Did that? Nope, didn't work. Let's do that again. I'm going to constrain this to this. Click OK. Now it's on top. So I should be able to grab that, move it around where I want. I'm going to right-click, move, put it vertical. Find doing it this way takes up less space on the material, so I can have some left over. I can grab this and do an array if I want, so I can do a pattern rectangular. Direction will be this way, and I need 4 of them, so I just type 4 there and move it until I've got a little space in between. That should be fine. Don't want to get it too close on the laser cutter because you can start a fire that way. So there's my parts for that. Go here. I'm grabbing the whole component in the little browser over here, because you can obviously copy features and bodies and stuff like that. You don't really want to do that, so I just do copy paste, move that over here, align face to face. So I'm going to do that face here to this face. Got to get on top. There's no reason to waste any material if I can avoid it, so I'm just going to put these little ledges, copy paste, inside this first light bulb here. Move those down. And then the last thing I need with this thickness of material is this cap here. So I've got my new cap, copy paste, move it over here, and then I'm going to align face to face like so. Get this from the top. Move it up. Again, trying to waste as little material as possible. And this should be enough. So now the next thing I'm going to do is create a new sketch that is on the face of this. That's fine. And then I'm going to project all of these so that they are dependent upon the components behind them. Okay, so all of those have been projected. I can do stop sketch now. And at this point, you should be able to see changing this parameter here will change that those drawings, those sketches. So if I do 0.2, for example, I should have a sketch over here that's parametrically constrained to the object, and that's exactly what I have. So in order to laser cut this stuff or cut it out with paper templates or put it on a CNC machine or whatever, 3D print it, I can change my parameter here and my parts draw themselves. Very, very useful for any kind of fabrication you might want to do. And of course, you can just go and find the sketch here, which will be at the end. And this will be like, let's see, shell layout. And I can just, it's always a good idea to name your sketches, and then I can go here and save as DXF, and then that's going to give me the DXF file I need to do whatever I want with it. So yeah, that's a little example of working with parameters and showing you how it was useful to me in this project I made.